Shout out for airplanes in the night sky being shooting stars.
Shout out to bubble wrap.
Shout out to the guy in the elevator telling us we were going to die when the rope snapped.
Shout out to Carrie Underwood for not inviting me to her wedding.
Shout out to validating our ticket at the parking garage.
Hello? Shout out.
Shout out for the world ending in 2012.
Shout out to that window falling out.
Shout out to Nicole Parento for being my friend. You're welcome.
Shout out to Joe dancing with the nurse. Shout out to those people across the hall or window.
Shout out for my room.
Best view. Shout out.
Awesome.
Shout out to Kate, Nolan's girl.
Shout out to my girl that Joe shouldn't be shouting out to.
Shout out to Nolan not being able to drink juice.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to
to
you're
the
almost
nurse.
supposed to be drinking water right now.
Or die.
Oh shit! Shout out to me being an asshole.
I don't even know what the fuck to shout out anymore. That's crazy.
Shout out to the worst internet
That's
ever.
great.
Shout out to Wade and Cupcakes on Cars and Mackenzie and
Driving
general.
illegally.
Shout outs for everyone shouting out to my shout out. I'm shouting out to you for shouting out to everyone. Shout out.
Shout out to GPSs that suck.
Little monster trucks.
Shout out to Mary keeping the shout out going.
Yeah.
Shout out to Joe being the worst co-pilot ever.
Shout out to Carrie Fisher.
Shout out to McDonald's.
Shout out for Bertucci's costing me $31 last night.
Shout out to walking a mile to a CVS when there's one right in the hospital.
Shout out to Boston.
You tell.
Shout out to kicking these snap bottles all over the room.
Shout out for David Ortiz winning the home run derby.
Shout out to the flower seeds.
Shout out to Joe.
Shout out for everybody in the world.
Shout out to Mackenzie being absolutely obnoxious.
Shout out to my boy George, rest in peace.
Shout out to
Shocker.
Yankees sucking and who cares.
Shout out to Mary Bean, a complete jerk.
Shout out to this fight right now.
Shout out to just kidding, actually.
Shout out.
Shout out to our shout out fight.
Shout out to love.
Shout out to Nolan's sweatpants.
Holla.
Shout out.
What?
Shout out to stupid shout out videos.
Shout out to Lindsay
I just
for
want to
making
shout
me
out
do
Kate
this.
once again.
Washness. Caitlin Christine Washness, you're annoying.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Why is everyone
Shout out to
my
repping
girlfriend?
Chickabee and B-Town.
Shout out to everybody in Chicopee getting something in their mailbox from Nicole Parento.
Shout out for me going home sometime
Yay!
in the near future.
Shout
Shout
out.
out.
Shout out to the Charles River.
Shout out to getting Lindsay out of this shout out video.
Shout out to Lindsay making us all be in this shout out video. Threatening.
Hello?
Shout out to Jeffrey's benefit and the cystic fibrosis benefit.
Shout out!
Shout out to making this an epic shout out. Okay, one more time, everyone. Shout out to making this an epic shout out.
Shout out to Nolan.
Oh, shout out to Mackenzie not being able to crack seeds.
Shout out for to Joe Armstrong because he's nice.
Shout out to Raheem because we saw him on the highway.
Shout out to me being the best driver in Boston.
Shout out to
Progressive.
Mackenzie breaking her hip flexor.
Shout out.
Shout